Just when you thought you could turn your back and walk away, the dark cloud of human indignity follows you. You had no choice but to turn and look it in the eye. It's the sex offender hit list.
Following an investigation in Kentucky State Police, troopers arrested 29-year-old Darren Rubel as the result of an undercover Internet Crimes Against Children investigation. The probe started after the KSP Electronic Crime Branch discovered Rubel was sharing images of child pornography online. Rubel is charged with one count of possessing matter portraying a minor in a sexual act over 12.
KVUE News at 10 begins with breaking news tonight. A Travis County deputy is on administrative leave as he faces a felony charge of indecency with a child.
Travis County court records show prosecutors issued an arrest warrant for Deputy Kyle Sass yesterday. The alleged offense happened back in 2014. He has not yet been arrested.
In a new statement released about an hour ago, Sheriff Sally Hernandez wrote, quote, "I'm deeply saddened that a Travis County Sheriff's Office deputy is suspected of such a crime. Our agency is taking the matter seriously, and the investigation is active and ongoing."
Another sex abuse scandal rocks a local high school. The accusations disturbing, but it's what administrators uncovered during their internal investigation that's really raising alarm tonight.
Tonight, Farmington High School confirms firing one of its coaches over allegations of sexual abuse involving minors.
Now we're getting word other coaches apparently knew what was going on and never reported it. The investigation centers around what allegedly happened to a handful of Farmington High athletes outside of school hours in the city of Detroit.
Pamela Osborne picks up the story from there. Pam.
At first, this was a story about one coach, an allegation of sexual assault involving minor student athletes. But in my communications with Farmington Public Schools, I learned 3 other basketball coaches were also fired for having knowledge of this and choosing not to report it. The basketball coaching staff at Farmington High School is gone following several allegations of sexual assault involving minors. Detroit police say the assaults happened in the city of Detroit, but the investigation, it centers around a boys basketball coach from Farmington High School. Farmington Public Schools say they first heard about the allegations last week and fired the unnamed coach immediately. There was an internal investigation that followed, and late today, we learned as a result of that investigation, 3 other basketball coaches were also fired for having knowledge of what was going on and choosing not to report it. In a statement, the district went on to say, to be clear, the other coaches are not accused of improper conduct with players. Rather, they did not meet the required threshold as mandatory reporters to ensure the safety and well-being of student athletes. And the district's now offering support to those students as well as their families who have been impacted by all of this. What we can tell you about that investigation is that DPD's Special Victims Unit is investigating. We're told that there have been a number of interviews as well as careful review of physical evidence in this case. Once all of that is compiled and that investigation is complete, they will forward that over to the prosecutor's office. I did reach out to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office by phone and email today. We have not yet heard back. Still a lot of developments yet to come in this story. Reporting live tonight, I'm Pamela Osborne, Local 4, Devin.
We clearly have a lot more to learn. All right, Pamela.
Ireland, a registered sex offender of Unadilla, New York was busted in a sting operation by Cameron Decker of Shield, trying to meet an alleged 14-year-old boy. Decker convinced Ireland to write out a full confession on paper, then convinced Ireland to follow him to the Delaware County Sheriff's Office to turn himself in. The Sheriff's Department is investigating these crimes and taking this matter very seriously. We will bring you updates as this matter progresses.
A Jackson County, West Virginia man who was found guilty of 136 child-related sexual offenses was sentenced to hundreds of years in prison this week, prosecutors said. This is John Lawson. We'll never see him again, nor will he see the light of day. He was sentenced to a minimum of 524 years and up to 1,210 years in prison after he was found guilty by a jury in 2022. Prosecutors say the offenses included sexual assault and sexual abuse of a minor, as well as solicitation of a minor via a computer. A lawsuit was filed against the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources earlier this year, claiming the agency could have and should have prevented this abuse.
New at noon, a former Iowa police officer has been convicted of several counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Prosecutors say that Michael Tobin Jr. showed sexually explicit images from a case to a minor in 2021 and 2022. Tobin has since been fired from the Clarksville Police Department in northeast Iowa. He's also facing lawsuits from two sisters who claim that he forced them into sex several times during a police ride-along program.
Pastor is accused of sexually abusing a child, and it all happened at his church.
So Covington police received a report about the alleged abuse at the Ministerio Jesus Liberta Church on East 9th Street. This was late last month that this was reported. Detectives naming 50-year-old Jose Lopez Hernandez as the suspect. They say that he went to California for some sort of mission trip, then skipped his return flight last week. Salinas police arresting him on a sexual abuse warrant now.
The Regional Sex Offender Notification Unit arrested George Redman yesterday after they say he had more than 1,600 images of child pornography. He's a Tier 2 sex offender with a previous conviction and is now charged with possession of child pornography.
Montgomery County woman's accused of raping a child. The county sheriff's office telling us that 31-year-old Amber Lynn Calhoun of Fultonville accused of having inappropriate contact with someone younger than 17, then sending intimate pictures and videos of the victim. Calhoun is being held in jail on $2,500 bail.
A former Philadelphia news reporter was arrested Wednesday for allegedly possessing child sexual abuse materials. This, according to authorities, they've charged Cleve W. Bryan Jr. from Sewell, New Jersey, with endangering the welfare of children by possessing those child sexual abuse materials. The charge follows an investigation led by the Washington Township Detectives and the High Tech Crimes Unit of the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office. Police say Bryan was taken to the Salem County Correctional Facility, where he is currently awaiting a preliminary hearing with no bond.
Welcome back. A new twist in the case of a former San Diego sheriff's sergeant accused of trying to meet a minor for sex in a sting operation. He pleaded guilty today in a surprise plea deal. As Team 10 investigator Austin Gravish shows us, a vigilante group led to his initial arrest.
Hey, how's it going?
Last March, former San Diego Sheriff Sergeant Luis Rios appeared surprised while being confronted in this McDonald's parking lot. The online site People vs. Preds confronted the veteran law enforcement officer, accusing him of meeting a 15-year-old boy for sex. The vigilante group hunts child predators through sting operations.
You remember back in October when you were talking to that 15-year-old kid? I haven't met him. So roll down your window.
Rios denied any wrongdoing at the time and drove off.
Stop trying to meet up with kids off the internet, scumbag!
But People vs. Preds uploaded video of the encounter to YouTube, along with screenshots of explicit conversations between Rios and a decoy account pretending to be a 15-year-old boy. That led to Rios's departure from the force and an investigation from the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. An officer finding Rios continuously talked with who he thought were 15-year-old boys. The sergeant was charged with 2 felonies and 1 misdemeanor, but pleaded not guilty to the charges while shackled at his arraignment. The People vs. Preds vigilante group says this is now the 15th time someone has been convicted and sent to jail because of one of its sting operations. The man behind the group didn't want to do an on-camera interview, but told me his motivation is to protect children from monsters. Reporting downtown, Austin Grabish, ABC 10 News.
To the average watcher, this story just blends in with the rest of them. But to get a better understanding of what really happened here, I would like to at least show you this guy's picture. This is Hector Aguayo. Now the news here says he was convicted of child pornography. That term makes it seem like a low-grade crime. Everybody's used to hearing it, so let's call it what it really is. Child sexual abuse material. Not only did he have it, he was the one who made it. His iPad had 550 images and 198 videos of him raping a prepubescent handicapped child, and he sold those through a messaging app which was unspecified. So if we ever want to put an end to this nightmare or even attempt to put a dent in it, then the full extent of the harm done to these innocent children must be known.
Okay, hold on. Huh? Yeah, sure. So I'm sorry.
Okay. All over my seat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can clean it up.
Okay. So what happens next?
Hold on. Well, I'm sure.
Oh, I'll let you finish.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think 4 years is kind of too long for this to be happening without dipping your toes a little bit farther than that. And like I said, man, I'm not placing the blame on you for this happening, but I'm gonna tell you right now, when it comes to people like that online that are sending these pictures, producing these pictures, because you know it's not a 13-year-old selling her body, right? It's an adult taking pictures and selling that, right? It's totally okay to snitch on that shit, okay? It doesn't matter. You know, I've come across people who have seen infants getting tortured, all this type of stuff. I don't blame it on them. It's not their videos, but they help me have eyes. That with his phone number.
But I guess he just chose Telegram.
He just chose Telegram. Okay. But all of these pizza profiles coincidentally just all have Telegram, man. There's just kind of like a situation here. We're just having a mutual conversation, and I mean, you're not going to try to meet a 13-year-old for again, are you? Last time doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're not going to look at child ever again online?
I hope not to come across it, and I plan on trying to not come across it, doing what I can to avoid all this.
Okay. And yeah, this should be your first and last time trying to meet a 13-year-old. Do you understand that? Okay. Well, you said what was happening on your body cam there, and
Do you have any idea? Yeah. Can I get it in my car?
For legal reasons, I cannot.
oh yeah, there's
8 child predators were arrested during a child exploitation sting operation out of Coleman, Alabama. Our first chomo on the list is Dalton Lynn Gilliland, a 31-year-old out of Bluntsville. He was arrested and charged with traveling to meet a child for unlawful sex act, as well as electronic solicitation of a child. Then we've got Brody Hayes Bates, a 33-year-old out of Coleman. He was arrested and charged with traveling to meet a child for unlawful sex act, as well as electronic solicitation of a child. Number 3 on our list is Giovanni Allen Cruz Martinez. He's 20. He's from Bluntsville also. Arrested and charged with traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, as well as electronic solicitation of a child. Number 4, William Henry Clift, a 59-year-old out of Hazel Green. He was arrested and charged with traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, and of course the electronic solicitation of a child. Number 5, Mung Sean Kim, 31, of Coleman, was arrested and charged with human trafficking, traveling to meet a child for unlawful sex act, as well as the electronic solicitation of a child. Number 6 on our list is Ryan Philip Nabriga, a 31-year-old out of Town Creek. He was arrested and charged with human trafficking, traveling to meet a child for unlawful sex act, and electronic solicitation of a child. Now we have Juan Carlos Gutierrez, a 41-year-old of Decatur. He was arrested and charged with human trafficking, traveling to meet a child for unlawful sex acts, as well as electronic solicitation of a child. And last but not least, we have Kerry Andrew Kramer, a 43-year-old out of Seymour. He was arrested and charged with traveling to meet a child for unlawful sex acts, electronic solicitation of a child, enticing a child for immoral purposes, and facilitating the travel for a child for an unlawful sex act. This investigation into these individuals and others is still ongoing, and police say more charges and arrests are likely and most definitely will follow. Over into Texas, we have a 25-year-old Lubbock man. This is Benjamin Ward. He was arrested and accused of 3 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child, according to court documents obtained by everythinglubbock.com on Thursday. Online jail records show Ward was arrested in the 2200 block of 35th Street by the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office on October 11th. Court documents stated the report was the first made back in August of 22. Details about the reported crimes weren't included in the court records, but as of Thursday, Ward still is in the Lubbock County Detention Center on a combined $200,000 bond.
And has pleaded guilty to 3 cases of child sexual abuse dating back to 2000. Court documents reveal Matthew Height pleaded guilty to multiple charges relating to sexual abuse and assault cases that happened in 2000, 2003, and 2010. He received multiple 15-year sentences and 1 10-year sentence and will serve them at the same time. Height is also required to register as a sex offender. Height was sentenced for multiple charges, including sexual assault of a child, indecency with a child, sexual contact, and other sexual assault charges.
Start with some breaking news out of Jefferson County. District Attorney Keith Giblin confirms to 12 News an assistant district attorney has resigned over a child porn case that was never submitted. In January 2021, former Port Neches Fire Chief Paul Nelson was arrested. He was accused of having child pornography. DA Giblin tells 12 News the prosecutor over the case at this time is the assistant DA who resigned. They did not move forward with the case because they felt it was weak. Fast forward to earlier this month, Nelson was arrested again, accused of having child porn, this time out of Montgomery County. District Attorney Giblin says he recently reviewed Nelson's case out of Jefferson County and decided to move forward with it. Yesterday, Nelson was indicted on those child pornography charges. The DA would not confirm the name of the assistant DA who resigned, citing personal matters. 12 News has submitted an open records request in attempts to learn who it is.
Breaking news right now out of Albany County, where a man has convicted by a jury of child sexual abuse. A jury found Douglas Eckler of Cohoes guilty of 1 count of predatory sexual assault against a child, a felony. Eckler sexually abused a child he knew over the course of several years while the victim was younger than 13. He faces up to 25 years to life in state prison when he's sentenced on December 8th.
A former youth pastor in Fountain has been convicted of sexual exploitation of a minor 1 year after his arrest. On October 13, 2022, Fountain police began investigating a report of a youth pastor sending sexually explicit material to a minor who attended his youth group. The investigation led to 38-year-old Jeffrey Williams' arrest. Williams was a pastor with the Salvation Army from 2013 to 2027 and turned himself over to the Fountain Police Department in November of last year. He was booked into the El Paso County Criminal Justice Center for unlawful sexual communication in a position of trust and obscenity. Last Friday, he was convicted of sexual exploitation of a minor, possession, and sexual exploitation of a minor enticement.
A jury trial for a Durango man accused of sexually assaulting a child ended in a mistrial Thursday in the 6th Judicial District Court. A week-long trial was held for Brandon Derschmidt, a 40-year-old who was accused of inappropriately touching a child under the age of 10 over a 3-year timeline. Jurors were apparently unable to reach a unanimous decision, resulting in a hung jury. This is according to the District Attorney Christian Champagne. Prosecutors have 90 days to decide what to do next. Their possibilities include dismissing the charge, entering into a plea agreement negotiation, or just retrying the case. The reason for this was that the jurors couldn't come up with a conclusion on this guy because it was all over a 10-year-old child. After 2 separate families who used to be friends had a dispute with each other, and these allegations weren't brought forth until after the dispute. So the defense here is trying to say that, you know, it never would have happened if the families didn't have a falling apart. Guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Court documents show a child as young as 1 year old has been captured on the footage here in the women's bathroom at La Vita e Bella. The owner, Luigi Carciati, has been behind bars since Wednesday. His bond has recently doubled following 20 more charges. The investigation started with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. That's where the sheriff's office got information that Carciati was accessing child pornography over the internet. Since this is illegal, deputies got a search warrant and searched his home. There they found child pornography, which led to Carciati being charged with 20 counts of third-degree sexual exploitation of a minor. During the home search, they also found photos and videos that led them back to La Vita e Bella, Carciati's restaurant in Moxville. While searching the restaurant, they found a camera hidden in the baseboard of the ladies' room. That led to Carciati being charged with 10 counts of felony secret peeping and 10 counts of second-degree exploitation of a minor. Sheriff J.D. Hartman believes there will be more charges to come.
Some of those charges would be similar even from the restaurant for viewing the underage folks at the restaurant. But you will see a difference too, for some of that could be manufacturing type charges because he's actually making the videos related to underage people at the restaurant. So that requires us to try and identify people.
At this point in the investigation, Sheriff Hartman believes Carciati had been recording people in the bathroom for years. Since deputies are still searching through digital storage units and devices, he doesn't know exactly how long the camera was there.
I want everybody to understand there are literally thousands and thousands of items for us to go through on these digital devices. So identifying people, going through all the devices is a very time-consuming thing. It's not going to happen in a week or 2 weeks. It's going to be extremely time-consuming.
People who live and work in Moxville say the restaurant has been closed ever since Carciati was arrested. People want to know what he was doing with the footage. I asked the sheriff and he said at this time he has no comment as the investigation continues. Reporting in Moxville, I'm Hannah Jeffries, WFMY News 2.
A Billings man, formerly of Hayes, Montana, was arraigned today on a 20-count federal indictment alleging child sex abuse, child sexual exploitation, child pornography, and other crimes. Now, all of those crimes involve multiple victims dating back some 31 years on the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation. 57-year-old James Kirby King pled not guilty in federal court. The indictment alleges from 1992 to 2018, King sexually abused or attempted to sexually abuse minor children and adults. In addition, King is accused of drugging his victims while sexually abusing them. The victims allegedly include 2 minor girls, a female adult, and 1 minor boy. If convicted, he faces a maximum of life in prison. The Salt Lake City FBI is now asking anyone who may have been victimized by King or have knowledge of crimes to come forward. You can contact the Salt Lake City FBI or visit their website with any information.
Well, this Sarpy County man booked on multiple charges in a child porn case. A criminal affidavit says the investigation started back in 2021 when a Bellevue police detective got a tip. It alleges sexually explicit material was found on Chad Drown's cell phone and laptop. Drown is expected to be in court tomorrow morning and is currently being held in Sarpy County Jail.
An Amherst man was arrested for allegedly distributing and possessing child pornography. 25-year-old Bradley Driscoll was brought to a federal grand jury in Springfield today on 1 count of distributing and 1 count of possessing child pornography. According to officials, last August, Driscoll allegedly had videos of sexual abuse of a minor under the age of 12 and knowingly distributed them. If he's found guilty, he faces up to 40 years in prison.
36-year-old Christopher Irish was taken into custody at his Elm Street home in Enfield, Connecticut, and charged with first-degree possession of child sexual abuse material. Bond was originally set at $500,000, and he was arraigned Wednesday in Hartford Superior Court, where the bond was then reduced to $200,000. He still is in custody there. Back on February 15th, police executed a search warrant at Irish's home following a complaint from the mother of an underage person that Irish had taken lewd photos of her with a cell phone. A computer hard drive, VHS tape, a tablet, and 3 cell phones were seized during the warrant execution, as well as a Nintendo gaming console and case which contained an inappropriate photo of a juvenile. The victim was found to have appeared in 7 videos and 100 still photos. Irish is due back in court on November 7th, and we'll have details for you right here on the Sex Offender Hit List.
A karate studio in Fremont County is planning on shutting its doors after the arrest of a longtime instructor. He's accused of searching for child sex assault material online.
KRDO News Channel 13's Barbara Fox explains what police found and what she's learned about the accused instructor.
It makes my heart very, very sad because unfortunately, this does happen.
Cheryl Hausdorfer's grandsons attended Bendel Karate nearly 20 years ago. She says the studio has been a community staple, but now it's closing next week, at least temporarily, after the arrest of instructor Rajan Pradhan earlier this month. Investigators found numerous explicit Google searches conducted by Pradhan, including information about sexually assaulting young children. But police did not find evidence he ever sexually assaulted a child.
It's just unfortunate there was one bad person that slipped through.
When contacted by police, Pradhan told an investigator he was not a disturbed person and is not a pedophile. According to the arrest affidavit, Pradhan stated that he was just researching. Canyon City Police arrested him earlier this month for sexual exploitation of a child and criminal attempt to commit a felony. The owner of the karate studio, Brent Bendel, says he has notified parents about these allegations and that the instructor has stepped down at the Florence location.
In fact, when they open back up, I'm going to join to support them because the Bendels have been a pillar of this community. They have supported us. They have developed a lot of young people into outstanding adults.
The owner says he will reevaluate whether to reopen the studio this winter, but as of right now, he is offering to reimburse students or encouraging them to attend the Pueblo West location. The owner also owns the 24-hour gym next door that is going to remain open. Reporting in Fremont County, Barbara Fox, KRDO News Channel 13.
New developments in a 2 News continuing investigation into child sex offender Paul Bryant. Bryant is the sex offender who dressed up as Prince Charming and went into an elementary school. Today, he had a virtual arraignment from his attorney's office. He's charged with 3 counts of failing to register as a sex offender. The prosecutor says he failed to disclose that he was president of his homeowners association. Bryant pleaded not guilty to the felony charges. We've been reporting on Bryant for almost 2 years now. You can find our past reports on KUTV.com.
Time now for a look.
A Burlington man is facing child pornography charges this morning. Richard Bolander Jr. was arrested yesterday on 10 counts of possession of the material. Burlington police say there is an ongoing investigation into child porn use in the area, and more charges are expected.
A Milwaukee man who once worked to help neglected children and has since been found guilty of abusing them has now been sentenced to 25 years in prison. Cornelius R. Smith was found guilty of 3 felony counts of first-degree child sexual assault with a child under the age of 13 and 1 felony count of second-degree sexual assault of a child 16 years or younger. 4 felony counts of incest and a felony count of sexual assault by a foster parent were dropped in order to get the above charges. Minors interviewed by police told investigators that Smith used violence, tricks, and the threat of withholding possessions to force sex with them. One of the victims told police they were suicidal. Another described being hit with a foot-long wooden stick, and yet another one said they got tired of him beating them and they would comply with these sexual requests. Freaking monster.
In County, Kentucky State Police say 29-year-old Darren Rubel has been charged with child sexual exploitation. Troopers arrested Rubel as part of an undercover internet crimes against children investigation. Investigators say that he was sharing images of children online. He's now facing charges of possessing child sexual abuse material.
Ago, a judge denied a Grovetown man's bond. He's charged with 3 counts of possessing child pornography, but more charges could be coming. The judge decided he could be a flight risk. Today in court, the assistant district attorney revealed investigators found at least 100
1,000 files on 19 different devices. Right now, investigators are still combing through those devices, but as our Hallie Turner reports, the GBI tracked Eric Longacre down through online tips.
Eric Longacre's case is proof. One wrong click sends the right tip.
Get a tip that the defendant's phone number had been uploading child pornography to this technology-based at least 5 different occasions.
When they say he clicked download, it's in a tip to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
If it resolves back to Georgia, it will come to the Georgia Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
Nationally, ICAC has 61 different task force programs. Every state has at least one. Georgia's is led by the GBI, who partners with 16 different local law enforcement agencies, and one of those is the Grovetown Police Department.
The images that we're dealing with are actual children being raped.
And these crimes are rising significantly.
For calendar year 2012, we almost got 3,000 cyber tips. For calendar year 2022, we got 21,753 cyber tips.
That's a 625% increase in 10 years. The reason being anything from new websites and social media applications to a financial motivation.
Trading of child pornography involved in these tips, but the overall motive, but they're after money.
And he says it's happening right here at home.
The perpetrators that we go after are not, they come from all walks of life. There's not, if you were asking me to draw a picture of one and describe one, I cannot.
And if you see something, again, say something. There are tip lines that will ping the GBI directly. Cybertipline.com is one of them. You can also call 1-800-843-5678. And those tips can be made anytime a day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Also,
we've got multiple breaking news stories at the top of WTVA 9 News at noon. The first is in Itawamba County, where Fulton police arrested an Itawamba County Head Start employee and charged him with a child sex crime. 56-year-old James Brown of Fulton is charged with touching a child for lustful purposes by a person in authority. He's in the Itawamba County Jail. Fulton Police Chief Brad Rogers says Brown was employed as a teacher or a teacher assistant. Sammy Roebuck will have more on this breaking news story later today on WTVA 9 News. Now
at 6, we're learning more tonight as a former West Texas football star is sentenced to 13 years in prison. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Madeline Bierster. James Earl Booby Miles of Friday Night Lights is now heading to prison after an Ector County court found him guilty of failure to comply with sex offender registration requirements. The failure to comply stems from an earlier court date in 2020 when the former football star pleaded guilty to aggravated sexual assault charges connected to a 1999 arrest. Now, reports show that one of the terms of his plea was to register as a sex offender after his release from prison. Authorities say he failed to do so upon his release in 2022. Additionally, Miles is awaiting trial on 2 family violence charges following another arrest in March of this year. The Odessa Police Department tells us that on March 1st, officers were sent to investigate a disturbance where a woman had reported being choked by her ex-husband. Investigators later found that the ex in question was Miles. In addition to the assault, the victim had also been subject of a protective order that Miles was also in violation of. As we mentioned, Miles is a former Permian High School running back and was the main subject of the book Friday Night Lights, A Town, a Team, and a Dream by H.G. Bissinger. Now, Miles was sought by football recruiters at many top colleges, but his athletic career was sidelined due to a knee injury. For a full write-up of this report, you can go online right now to yourbasin.com.
St. Cloud, Minnesota. A Stearns County jury has found an Eden Valley man guilty of sexually assaulting a teenage boy. After a 2-day jury trial this week, 35-year-old Jesse Coons was convicted on 1 count of third-degree criminal sexual conduct with a victim between 16 and 17 years old, while being more than 3 years older than the victim. According to the criminal complaint, Coons was a registered predatory offender who, in a position of power, overtook the 16-year-old boy and used that power to manipulate the boy into agreeing to sex acts with him. The sexual assault occurred in April of 22 at Coons' home. The boy told investigators that he didn't know what to do because he didn't want to see Coons get mad and that he had seen Coons have angry outbursts before. Court records allege that the assault took place. Coons told the boy not to say anything because he was already on a list. Coons is being held without bail, and he's going to be sentenced, let's see here, January 23rd.
A Wichita Falls man remains jailed on $50,000 in bonds after Texas Rangers posed as a teenage girl in an online sting. Antonio Munoz he's charged with online solicitation of a minor and tampering with evidence too. The Rangers said Munoz made contact with him on a site, asked how old the person was, sent a photo of himself, and asked if they could meet. The Ranger represented himself as a 14-year-old girl and on Monday told Munoz she was in school but could meet at 3 p.m. A meeting place was then set up and DPS officers had it under surveillance when they say Munoz arrived. A traffic stop was made as he was leaving. They say Munoz was taken in and questioned and admitted communicating with a person he thought was a 14-year-old female and that he most likely was going to engage in sex with her if she showed up. DPS officers say he also admitted deleting the website app on his phone when he left the meeting place and that he knew the messages on the app were the reason he was being stopped.
Lubbock police asking for your help to find a convicted sex offender who they say is armed and dangerous. 51-year-old Robert Cooks is a lifetime sex offender who has not reported to the correct home address. In late August, police were made aware of Cooks not checking in for 80 days. He's around 5'7", 155 pounds. If you know where Cooks is, you're asked to call Crime Line at 806-741-1000.
The Yates County District Attorney's Office providing an update on a massive sex trafficking case that started 1 year ago. Aram Spitzer joining us in studio with the latest of what we've learned. Aram?
Yes, DA Todd Casella says 18 people have been charged, and of those, 16 pled guilty. One person is considered mentally unfit to proceed, and one is awaiting a hearing to determine her competency. McLean Ridley was the adoptive mother of the victim and was convicted of predatory sexual assault against her while she was less than 13 years old. At the same time, Andrew Doherty, who was also convicted, was living with them and, according to Casella, raping the victim for years. An investigation into Doherty began in October of 2022 after he and 17 others were accused of raping a girl and threatening her with a gun. Investigators believe this happened at several locations across Yates County. The case is now closed pending the sentencings, hearings of incompetence, and sex offender hearings that will be held prior to the release of those who are incarcerated.
The child's been through a lot, and we're not going to subject her to further interviews or grand jury presentations unless she comes forward and discloses something new. She is a tremendously resilient young woman. She has a lot of support around her now. And I'm confident with that fortitude that she's developed over these years that she will go on to be a productive person. And I hope that if she ever needs help, that she knows where she can reach out to get that assistance.
Casella says that a large number of the convicted suffer from some degree of mental disability and are intellectually limited. More on that at 5:30. In studio, Aram Spitzer. Back to you, Natalie.
Aram, thank you for that update. Doherty was sentenced to a total sentence of 40 years to life, which includes 2 25 to life sentences served concurrently and a consecutive sentence of 15 years plus 20 years post-release. Ridley was sentenced to 20 years to life.
Metro Police arresting 17 people during an undercover operation targeting online child sex predators. The multi-agency operation took place over the weekend. The 8 News Now investigators first reported Monday one of the men arrested was Tanner Castro, a former Las Vegas prosecutor. All the suspects face charges of luring a minor with a computer to engage in sex.
Over in Oxford, Pennsylvania, a local man has been arrested by the Oxford Borough Police Department on child sexual abuse charges. This is Kyle Nessa, a 34-year-old. He's been charged with indecent assault of a victim less than 13 years of age, unlawful contact with a minor, and corruption of minors. According to the criminal complaint, October 5th of 23, the Oxford police began an investigation into reported child sexual abuse, where the victim was less than 13 years of age. As a result of this investigation, 34-year-old Kyle Nessa of Oxford was apprehended by the Oxford Borough Police Department on October 18th of 23, my birthday. and subsequently transported by constables to Chester County Prison. A preliminary hearing will be scheduled for the Oxford District Court. Let's fry this guy.
And an Odessa man is behind bars facing sexual assault charges out of Buffalo County. 44-year-old William Guthrie is facing 2 counts of sexual assault of a child. The court records detailing what led to his arrest have been sealed, but according to the criminal complaint, the incidents are said to have happened between September 2017 and July 2018, and again between February 2020 and September 2023, with the victim being under the age of 12 in both instances. Guthrie is a registered sex offender for a prior conviction of sexual assault of a child out of Adams County from 2000.
A Naples man is facing child sex charges here in Bay County. 43-year-old Jeremy Thomas Rhodes is accused of having sex with a 7-year-old daughter of a friend. Both are from the Naples area. The alleged crime happened several years ago when Rhodes and the girl were in Panama City for a softball tournament. Apparently, he and the victim's parents are friends. Authorities also suspect that Rhodes has had sex with 3 other young girls. Rhodes is charged with sexual assault on a victim under 12. He's being held without bond in the Bay County Jail.
A Billings man, James Kirby King, has been accused of 20 counts, including sexual abuse of children, child pornography, and other crimes dating back more than 3 decades. King pleaded not guilty on Tuesday in a federal court, and the allegations against King involve multiple victims dating back 31 years. Now, the FBI is asking anyone with information about the alleged sexual abuse of children involving King to come forward. Now, King, he's lived in multiple locations across Montana, including the Fort Belknap Reservation, Billings, Ashland, and the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. Court documents say that he's worked in a position of trust in schools and as a juvenile probation officer.
An investigation into online child sexual exploitation led to an arrest in Bedford County. Bedford County sheriffs arrested and charged David Good Jr. with possession and distribution of child pornography. He is being held without bond.
A 62-year-old Juneau man is in custody in the Dodge County Jail after being arrested for multiple counts of possession of child sexual abuse material. On Tuesday, the Dodge County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division executed a search warrant on the man's residence after they received a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in reference to an Internet Crimes Against Children investigation. As a result of the tip and subsequent investigations, 62-year-old Daniel Udatek was booked into the Dodge County Jail, and the Sheriff's Office had requested charges of 10 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material, a Class D felony. Udatek had his initial court appearance on Wednesday and is currently being held on a $5,000 cash bond. Why so little? I have no clue.
A first alert update now. The operator of a local haunted attraction appeared in Manitowoc County Court today.
37-year-old John Schwartz Jr. faces a felony charge of repeated sexual assault of the same child. Two Rivers police arrested him back on Thursday. Holly Brantley was in court today. She joins us now live in Two Rivers with more details. Holly.
I am here in front of Scare USA. Now, this investigation started after police say they received information about possible sexual assaults in this haunted attraction. Now, John Schwartz is the operator of the business. According to the criminal complaint, the alleged crimes happened over a 2-year period and involved a volunteer who started going to help at the business at age 13. Court records say the teen found sanctuary at the business and Schwartz became a mentor. But things quickly changed when Schwartz invited him to work on projects at Scare USA, and they were the only two present. Now, the teen telling investigators that Schwartz would touch him inappropriately and that he also invited him to sleep over at his home. I spoke with several people in court for today's appearance. They declined to comment. Now, in court, Schwartz told the judge he still needs an attorney. Meanwhile, he is due back in court on October 30th. As for this business, according to their Facebook page, Scare USA is closed for now. They say that they will be issuing refunds to those who had already bought tickets. Live in Two Rivers, Holly Brantley.
In Vernon Parish, a Virginia man is accused of raping a minor. The sheriff's office says 29-year-old Trevor Rentschler was arrested in Virginia and extradited back to Vernon Parish. He faces a number of charges, including 2 counts of first-degree rape, oral sexual battery, and molestation of a juvenile. Bond has not been set, and he remains in the Vernon Parish jail.
And a Pocatello man is sentenced to 44 years for producing child pornography. Hector Aguayo was also sentenced to 15 years of supervised release, which will start after his prison sentence. Aguayo will also be required to register as a sex offender. Aguayo pleaded guilty on May 4th of this year. He was caught after a concerned citizen reported his iPad had child pornography.
To the average watcher, this story just blends in with the rest of them. But to get a better understanding of what really happened here, I would like to at least show you this guy's picture. This is Hector Aguayo. Now the news here says he was convicted of child pornography. That term makes it seem like a low-grade crime. Everybody's used to hearing it, so let's call it what it really is. Child sexual abuse material. Not only did he have it, he was the one who made it. His iPad had 550 images and 198 videos of him raping a prepubescent, handicapped child. And he sold those through a messaging app which was unspecified. So if we ever want to put an end to this nightmare or even attempt to put a dent in it, then the full extent of the harm done to these innocent children must be known.
Court of Pine Ridge man pleads guilty today to abusive sexual contact. 33-year-old Charles Martinez was initially charged with 3 counts of sexual abuse of a minor and abusive sexual contact, but as part of a plea agreement, he only pleaded guilty to abusive sexual contact. The victim of the crime was 8 to 9 years old at the time of the offense. The case dates back to November of 2021 when the mother of the victim found a notebook in which the victim detailed inappropriate sexual contact with Charles Martinez. Martinez faces up to life in prison when he's sentenced, but the plea agreement recommends 6 years behind bar.
Let's head over to Bowie, Maryland. Troopers arrested a Prince George's County man on Wednesday after a Maryland State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force investigation developed evidence of possession and distribution of child sexual abuse material. The suspect here is identified as Nigel Elijah Roberts, a 44-year-old of Bowie. Roberts is charged with 10 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material and 7 counts of distribution of child sexual abuse material. Roberts was transported to the Prince George's County Detention Center, where he's being held there, as it should be, without bond.
Now to a big push to better protect kids from sexual offenders and predators.
Yeah, one leader says more needs to be done. News 6's Molly Reed is into land with his proposal for new rules.
That discussion should be coming up at any moment now here inside of council chambers. Now, it's coming from a council member who says he's been compiling the data for the last few months and found Volusia County now has among the highest number of sex offenders in the state. He says that means it's time to set more boundaries.
But as we evolve, our ordinances and how we conduct business also, in my opinion, need to evolve.
About 1,267 registered sex offenders and 120 sexual predators live in Volusia now, according to state data. Volusia Councilman Danny Robbins believes with the influx of people moving to the state, it's time for stronger rules.
While reviewing our code of ordinances or municipal codes, I really didn't see anything for sexual offenders or sexual predators, and I know how important that is to a community.
Right now, it shows 2 schools have 61 offenders living within a mile of the school. That's just 2 of about 64 other schools that have offenders living nearby.
All this should be an eye-opener.
Robbins will present 3 proposals tonight. One is to bump up the distance that those convicted of these crimes can live within schools, parks, playgrounds, and daycares from 1,000 feet to 1,500 feet. He is also proposing designated children play areas where only adults legally supervising their children can be, and using funding to put more surveillance cameras in parks and playgrounds.
So gives law enforcement a little extra tool to go up and contact some of these individuals that aren't there with kids.
Robbins says these ordinances could also set more boundaries for those convicted of these types of crimes but are homeless and don't have an address to register. Again, this discussion should be coming up at any moment now. In Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed getting results, News 6.
A decade after the initial lawsuit was filed, a victim is getting a payout from the Citadel after being sexually assaulted by a former camp counselor. The mother of the victim filed the initial complaint in December of 2011 regarding the actions of this man, accused and charged rapist Louis Skip Reville. Through the South Carolina Insurance Reserve Fund, the Citadel is shelling out $788,000. Reville was a camp counselor at the Citadel from 2000 to 2006. In May of 2007, the Citadel Citadel received information that in 2001 and 2002, Reveal had on the premises of the Citadel engaged in sexually inappropriate conduct with multiple children under the age of 16 at the summer camp. The lawsuit states the Citadel investigated and shared the information with the South Carolina Insurance Reserve Fund. That information, however, according to the lawsuit, was not shared with law enforcement, employers of Reveal, or parents of children around whom Reveal worked. Well, in the fall of 2007, the plaintiff's child began taking athletic supervision from Reveal in Mount Pleasant. The lawsuit states the Citadel knew or should have known Reveal had undertaken another job with children and stayed silent about Reveal's sexual misconduct. In 2012, Reveal was sentenced to 50 years in prison after pleading guilty to 22 child sex charges in Berkeley, Charleston, and Dorchester counties.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today for WVLT News at noon. I'm Brittany Tarwater. We begin with breaking news in East Tennessee today. United States Marshal Service needs your help finding an escaped inmate. They say Sean Williams, the person right here on your screen, escaped this morning during a transport to District Court in Greenville. Well, transport was traveling through Granger and Hamblin County when he escaped. Williams was charged with production of child pornography. So if you see him, officials say do not approach him, but call 911.
Police are searching for a man who they say performed indecent acts with a child. Detectives say 52-year-old Lawrence Waddle Jr. committed the crime in September of last year. The child reportedly told investigators that Waddle had inappropriate sexual contact with them. If you have any information that can help investigators, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIPS.
Deputies with the Onslow County, North Carolina Sheriff's Office say that a child told them in May they had been sexually abused in the fall of 21. Deputies say they immediately notified the Department of Social Services, and the child was forensically interviewed at the Child Advocacy Center, where the child gave a detailed account of the abuse that deputies say happened when the child was just 8 years old. Deputies say the Special Victims Unit was able to verify the child's disclosure of the sexual abuse. The child identified 31-year-old Todd Tucker as the person who abused them. Tucker, who previously lived in North Carolina, had moved to Oklahoma before the child reported the abuse. But Tucker was arrested in Clinton, Oklahoma on October 18th and is currently being held in jail there awaiting extradition back to Onslow County. Deputies say the investigation is still ongoing as there may be more victims.
Well, it is time for Wanted Wednesday. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation, they update their top 100 most wanted sex offenders list each month. And I had the chance to speak with a spokesperson at the CBI on a variety of topics, including why this list is so important.
We want our community members to be aware of. We want them to actively be going to the site, actively looking at the photos and reading the background information, because at the end of the day, this is going to keep our community safe by reporting these individuals so that we can contact them and get them off the streets.
So this week we are highlighting number 94 on the list, Jeremy Kirst. He was convicted of a sex act with a child under 16 years old. His warrant was issued in El Paso County all the way back in January of 2020, so he's been on the run for a while. If you've got any information on his location, you're asked to call the number right there at the bottom of your screen.
Denied.
When a child experiences trauma, they can be stripped of their ability to imagine. But imagination is colors. All the colors. Imagination is freedom. And whatever you want it to be. But a child without imagination is not a child at all. Will you help defend our right to imagine?